Good morning, Director General Chiang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Qing Lin, Director of the Taiwan Trade Center in Chicago. I would like to welcome everybody and thank you all for participating in today's webinar, Taiwan-US Business Forum in the Midwest, Food and Agriculture session. Firstly, I would like to invite Johnson Jiang, Director General of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Chicago, to give us the welcome remarks.
Good morning. My name is Johnson Chiang, Director General of Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Chicago. Welcome to join us for the second part of this two-day webinar, Taiwan-US Business Forum in the Midwest. In yesterday's session, we had a great discussions on Taiwan-US business cooperation and global high-tech supply chains. Today, we will focus on Taiwan as a gateway for American agriculture products and the food industry to the Asian market. We are grateful for today's great lineup of speakers from the Midwest region, including Congressman Tom Tiffany from Wisconsin, Directors, Chiefs of Agriculture or Development Agencies from states of Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana. In addition, we deeply appreciate representatives from businesses and associations, NGOs, to share their views on how we work together to bring more opportunities for our agricultural and the food industry to grow sustainably and inclusively. As the world's 8th largest market for U.S. agriculture products, Taiwan has a profound and a long-standing economic partnership with the Midwest. In terms of per capita, with its population of 23 million people, Taiwan even is the world's second largest market for U.S. agriculture products, only next to Canada. Simply put, we love high-quality U.S. agriculture products to grow our food industry to expand to other markets. On the other hand, we have seen more Taiwan companies coming closer to their American suppliers to expand their business in the global market. 3 Taiwanese American entrepreneurs, President Jenny Yang from Chicago, Director Mei Mei-en from Iowa, and President Will Shi from Wisconsin, will share their experiences of blending local agriculture products with Taiwan-originated technologies or ideas to expand their business. We see the Midwest as a land of opportunities for Taiwan agriculture and the food business. We also see Chicago as a powerful hub for connecting with the Midwest. Well, it explains why last year in 2020, Taiwanese investors purchased more of commodity futures by 48% increase in Chicago Mercantile Exchange Market, which includes many agriculture-related products. Again, we thank you for your participation and looking forward to working together with you to enhance our partnership.
Thank you, Director Jiang. I'd like to thank all of government authorities, association representatives, and speakers today for sharing their expertise during this webinar. They are Mr. Edward Chen, Congressman Tom Tiffany, Mr. Jeffrey Costello II, Mr. Tom Peterson, Mr. Mike Knight, Ms. Dorothy Palanda, Ms. Christina Conlin, Mr. Don Shogren, Mr. Randy Romaski, Mr. George Hunt, Mr. Bruce Carter, Mr. Jeff Phillips, Mr. Ron Tanner, Mr. Stuart Green, Mr. Deb Shogren, Mr. Paul Weiss, Mr. David Hadley, Ms. Jenny Yang, Ms. Mei Wu, and Mr. Will Shi. Today's event will be a great platform to exchange the ideas and experiences about how Taiwan is the gateway to Asian market and how Taiwan can become your best partner in the food and agriculture industry. Our webinar today will be divided into two parts, opening remarks and speeches. Now, we are opening the webinar with the remarks by Edward Chiang, Deputy Director General of Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Chicago.
Greetings. It's my pleasure to join the State Government, Agricultural and Food Association, business leaders from the Midwest of the United States for this webinar to discuss the agricultural and the food industry and promote closer cooperation between Taiwan and the United States, especially in the Midwest. The United States has remained one of Taiwan's largest sources of agricultural products, regularly supplying 1/4 of our overall agricultural imports. Taiwan is the United States' 8th largest agricultural export market and 2nd largest consumer of U.S. farm goods on a per capita basis. In 2020, Taiwan imported $3.44 billion worth of U.S. top agricultural products, including beef, soybean, wheat, chicken, corn, pork, rice, and dairy products. Due to the COVID-19 disrupting global production and marketing chains, Taiwan has provided a resilient and growing market for U.S. farmers, ranchers, and exporters. Every 2 years from 1978 to previous year, Taiwan has continued to purchase large amounts of top-quality agricultural products from the United States. In fact, the 2021 Taiwan Agricultural Trade Goodwill Mission will be sending to the Midwest of the United States in September this year. Not only will it strengthen the U.S.-Taiwan agricultural trade relations, but will also highlight Taiwan's will and the capability to fulfill the commitment between Taiwan and U.S. agricultural as well as economic cooperative partnership. A mutual beneficial trade agreement between Taiwan and the United States, which naturally would cover agricultural products, would bolster economic ties in many areas, increase trade volume on agricultural, and create jobs in the United States and Taiwan. I look forward to seeing today's webinar promote more cooperation on agricultural and the food industry for Taiwan and the Midwest of the United States. Thank you for your participation today. Thank you.
One of the first bills I introduced after my special election last year called for a U.S.-Taiwan free trade agreement and the resumption of normal diplomatic relations between our two countries. America and Taiwan have a deep and abiding friendship that is built on our shared commitment to democracy and belief in the power and prosperity that comes from free markets.
Taiwan is Illinois' 5th largest trading partner when it comes to food and ag products. Taiwan purchased $165 million in soybeans from Illinois in 2020, $114 million in corn in 2020, which I believe are very impressive numbers considering the pandemic.
Minnesota has had a long-standing trade ties with Taiwan and it's an important trading partner in Asia, particularly with high-quality Minnesota-grown soybeans used for vegetable oil in Taiwan, with a particular interest to look at our state's sustainability efforts and also our clean water initiatives that we have here in Minnesota.
Trade is important to Iowa. We're 2nd in the nation in terms of the value of the food and agriculture products that we export, so trade matters to us, and trade agreements work, very simply put. Iowa has invested a lot of time and energy to cultivate relationships with Taiwan over the last 10 to 15 years. We've had trade delegations travel to and receive delegations from Taiwan, and also the Iowa Economic Development Authority has maintained a relationship in Taipei for several years.
that Taiwan is our 7th largest export market for food and agricultural products. In 2020, Taiwan imported $3.79 billion worth of food and agricultural products from the United States. Although agriculture is important in Taiwan, it relies on imported food products not locally produced or produced in sufficient volumes. And soybeans, of course, are an important part of our trade.
That I have seen resilience and innovation with food, ag, and beverage companies resulting from such challenging times, and it has been very heartening to see. What has that translated into as a practical consideration for companies that work cross-border? I have seen agility at every level of the supply chain, and companies are rethinking their supply chain partners and the elements.
We are the top producing state for soybeans in this country, and 60% of our soybeans go into the international marketplace. So building and maintaining relationships are very important to us, and being in Taiwan is very important as well.
Wisconsin and Taiwan have enjoyed a long and mutually beneficial trade relationship. Among the 10 Midwestern states in the Taipei Economic Cultural Office region, Wisconsin ranks 5th in food, forestry, and agricultural exports.
We often say that agriculture is Michigan's 2nd biggest industry. We lead the nation in production of the ABCs, asparagus, blueberries, and tart cherries, among other agriculture products. Michigan is home to famous food companies like Kellogg, Spartan Nash, and more. We understand that Taiwan is also very strong in these areas: advanced manufacturing, electronics, semiconductors, and agriculture. So these shared strengths are very promising for Michigan's economic relations with Taiwan. In fact, many Taiwanese companies already have a presence in Michigan, many of them related to automotive electronics. Companies such as Delta Electronics, EOI, and Solomon Robotics already have a presence in Michigan. My colleagues and I closely follow Taiwan's economy and Taiwan's great companies, and we want to continue building more and deeper ties between Taiwan and Michigan.
Specifically in Indiana and not only our global reach of what we do, we've got, and I'm not going to go through all of these specifically, but over 56,000 farms in the state of Indiana, a huge economic impact when we look specifically at agriculture. But when we look at about the 4th bullet point down, we talk about the value of our unprocessed agricultural commodities, especially items like soybeans and corn. We're about the 5th largest producer of those commodities, roughly. But as you see, we rank 10th in the nation in agricultural sales. And some would say, well, why are you bragging about being 10th? It's because we're also one of the smaller states in terms of land size that we're able to do that. And that speaks volumes to the productivity that our farmers and people involved in our industry here in the state of Indiana.
Get questions from food companies looking to start their research into a particular export market. We work with a number of different organizations. So one of the top ones we work with in Taipei and also in Washington is the USDA's Foreign Ag Service. So some great information that you can get from the USDA. One that we use a lot would be something called their gain reports. And that you can go in and find, what's the labeling required? What's my import regulations to get my products into Taiwan? They'll also focus on different particular topics. Like a recent one they did was, that Taiwan eased import restrictions for US beef. So this is a good way of finding out all the particular information about getting my product into that market.
Yeah, thank you very much. And what I'm going to be talking about today is trends in the U.S. specialty food industry. So it's really more about what's going on in the United States and how companies can sell their products within the United States, and for the ag people that are on here to learn a little bit about selling in the United States rather than exporting. That's me. I'm going to go through that quickly. I left the Specialty Food Association back in December, launched the Tanner Food Group, which is really specializing in international trade. There's a lot of international trade. I think, as most of you probably know, the Specialty Food Association put on the fancy food shows. There's going to be one in September. And those fancy food shows were about 35% internationals. So I'm going to talk quickly about the definition of specialty foods. That's what everybody asks first and foremost. Talk about what is selling, why it's selling, a little bit about the impact of COVID and how that has affected how people are selling their specialty food products, and then a little bit about emerging food trends. The first thing that everybody asks is, what is a specialty food? This is the definition from the bylaws of the Specialty Food Association, and I just bold-faced here things which are important: quality, innovation, and style in their category, originality, authenticity, ethnic or cultural origin, specific processing, limited supply, extraordinary packaging. So most of the products that are coming from Taiwan into the United States would fall under the definition of specialty food. And I think particularly with the pandemic, with people wanting to learn more to cook at home, there is a great opportunity for these type of products. That is a long definition, so we put together a little bit of a shorter definition at what sets specialty foods apart. And really the first thing is taste and originality. Specialty foods need to taste good. I mean, most foods should taste good, but in particular the specialty foods, you're looking for taste and they're usually made with better ingredients. So there's not a lot of additives, there's not a lot of preservatives, there's not a lot of extra things put in them, and they're made through a small process. But the thing we always like to point out the most is that there's always a person behind the product or a story behind the product. The people that are buying specialty food products are really buying them because they're supporting people in their community, they're supporting a country that they admire, have connections with. So the person behind the product is really important. I'm now going to go into talking about trends, and it's going to be through data. The Specialty Food Association has worked with Intel International and SPINS for many years to put together information on what's selling on 63 different categories that are sold in the United States. And these are just some of the highlights. And the most recent, the 2020 report, is the most recent that we have, which has 2019 sales. The sales for 2020 will be coming out in May or June. But specialty food sales in 2019 topped $158 billion. That is actually bigger than the budget of the state of New Jersey. So it has become a very, very big business in the United States. 75% of those sales are at retail, but 22% are through food service. And obviously that changed in 2020, but food service is a great opportunity for companies that are looking at marketing their products into the United States. 3% of those sales are online, and that was in 2019. That has changed significantly in 2020, which I'll go into later. Specialty food represents 20% of all food sales at retail. So it is very, very big. If you took the typical supermarket, grocery would be the largest category. But the second largest category is usually produce and meat, which comes in at 16 to 18%. So if you took all the specialty foods and put them together, they would be the second largest category in the store. And some of those are in dairy, some are in deli, some are in grocery, they're in different places, but they've become very significant. And one of the most important factors is specialty foods are growing about 9% over those last 2 years of 17 to 19, while sales of all food increased by just 3%. So growing at 3 times the rate of all food. The biggest category is cheese and plant-based cheese, which I'm sure our people from Wisconsin would be very happy about. It's over a $4 billion industry, but snacks and some other categories that there would be products coming from Taiwan are up there too. Snacks is the third largest category. Among the fastest growing categories are a lot of refrigerated products, plant-based meat alternatives, creams and creamers, People are looking for refrigerated and fresh products. And also in market share, they're doing very, very well. So market share means the percentage of specialty versus the percentage of non-specialty. And if you look, one thing I always want to point out is non-ready to drink tea or hot tea. About 55% of the hot tea sold in the US is specialty tea, not the mass market teas. So it has a very high market share and always have. And 6 of the top 10 categories are refrigerated. This just shows the growth that 3 times greater in specialty food than in all foods, and refrigerated is leading in that specialty growth. I wanted to give this prediction from Mintel as to what is going forward. You can see here that specialty foods were growing very significantly in 2014, 2013 at 10% and 9%. And we're gradually dropping an percentage increase, although still increasing at a much greater percentage than mass market foods. And then there was a spike in 2020 up to 13%. That spike might even be higher because this data was gathered back in April and May, and things have changed. And we think going forward, there will continue to be that strong spike in specialty food products. People have learned more to cook at home. They enjoy cooking at home. And we feel that they're going to be buying a lot of specialty foods to, kind of supplement or replace some of that food service business, some of those trips to restaurants, which they channel sales. This is just a graph showing the brick and mortar food service and online. But I wanted to show here too the growth of online. So online in those two periods, 2017 to 19, has grown by 132%. And again, that does not take into account 2020. So we're expecting huge growth. The stores that are growing a lot, but you can see mainstream stores, only growing at that 4.1% in 17 to 19. But mainstream stores, which are supermarkets primarily, and some other mass market stores, still represent 70% of all specialty foods. So if you're looking at bringing your food or selling it into the United States, mainstream is where to go. The highest growth is in natural juice. These are the top 10 categories. You can see within the top 10 categories, 5 of them are refrigerated or frozen, but there's opportunities for shelf-stable products in chips, pretzels, and snacks, in chocolate and other confectionery, and surprisingly in water. Highest growth, you can see the highest growth again, a lot are refrigerated and frozen, but some of the kind of what I would say older categories such as jerky and meat snacks and rice cakes are coming back very strong and growing very substantially. And I think there's a lot of potential there for products from Taiwan. The online specialties show you the 132% increase in that period. And that's going to be, it's predicted to be 2 times that in 2020, maybe more. We have divided foods into 4 different categories. And essentials are basically what you would call your pantry foods. They include things such as condiments, seasonings, beans, grains, and rice, nuts and seed butters, and they represent 41% of the brick and mortar specialty market, and they're growing a little bit ahead of the total specialty market, and that doesn't take into account 2020 when they probably were growing much higher than that. I think, as we all know, boost for COVID, for baking, for entrees, for seasonings, for sauces, for soup, as people were beginning to eat more at home. So a lot of increase in there. Plant-based, everybody's talking about plant-based, and they should be, because it's becoming a major factor in U.S. foods, growing at 27% in that 2-year period. That's 3 times the 9%, and I think if I'm doing my math right, 9 times what all mass market sales would be. So there's a lot of growth in plant-based foods. People are looking for those plant-based alternatives, and I think there's a great opportunity there. Snacks, represent 27% of the market. They've been growing slower than total specialty market because there's kind of been a plateau in them, but there is a lot of opportunity there. And during COVID, a lot of people were going for specialty snacks rather than conventional snacks. They needed something to treat themselves, so they were going for these products in order to be able to treat themselves. And then beverages, it's our last category we're looking at, represent about 18% of the market. They're growing at about the same pace, but there's a lot of potential in functional beverages, again, in tea. I think as people go back going into the office, they're ready to drink tea, and coffee is going to be growing quite a bit. So potential there, just showing what some of those opportunities are. So just as a wrap up, the pandemic economy will slowly start to wane this year. We are predicting the growth rate for sales of food at home will be twice what it would have been without the pandemic. So that's going to put it probably at another 13 to 14%. Essentials will be the main beneficiary as people continue to shelter at home. And plant-based specialty has a lot of runway left in the breadth and depth of offerings. And specialty snacks have already had its growth phase, but there are opportunities in some innovation. And beverages are pacing the growth of the everyday market. The next normal, health and wellness. Culinary exploration is extremely important as consumers are looking to really replicate the foods that they used to get in restaurants at home. There's a lot of economic awareness, ethical awareness. So women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, people are really looking to support those types of businesses. The innovation pace will probably be under average as there's just a lot of specialty foods in the market. But if you're looking to innovate, you should look at Gen Zs and millennials to look at. And consumers are trading down in price but not positioning. So basically, they're looking for a lot of good products, and they're looking at those good products at a good price. And with that, Chief Dr. Lin, I'm going to go through just very quickly to show some of these trend picks. This will take another 2 minutes. People are looking for sparkling, functional, and global teas. So looking for a lot of opportunity in teas, such as these Shaka Shaka teas from Hawaii, the sparkling unsweetened rooibos red tea, sparkling hop teas, so teas that are brewed like hops. So just looking for a lot of innovation. Global sauces and seasonings, as I mentioned, people are looking to be able to have the flavors that they would like to get while traveling, but make them in their own kitchen. So we have these products from Cambodia, kimchi mayo sauce, Burma Love Foods fermented tea leaf dressing. And then finally, a new direction for plant-based. So people are looking for a fruit and vegetable and protein focus in their snacks with products like tomato jerky or plant protein enriched churros. So with that, I'm going to turn it back. If you have any questions, you can reach me at Ron@Tanner Food Group. And I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the U.S. specialty food market.
We are an export company, a food export company based in St. Louis, Missouri. And we've been selling into the Taiwan market since 2015. So I think that makes this year will be our 7th year doing business in Taiwan. We supply supermarkets, distributors, and e-commerce companies. And sometimes we act like a personal shopper for our customers in Taiwan. They'll have specific products from the USA that they want us to find, grocery products, and we help them source those products. My own reasons, why I think Taiwan is a good market to export to. We've heard all the economic statistics about it being a great market, but some things on a more personal level are it's easy to do business in Taiwan. The customers are straightforward. They tell you what you need. The regulatory climate is very straightforward and clear, and it's a friendly market for U.S. products. Taiwan people have an affinity for American brands. They like the food safety. They like the quality represented by American brands, and it's a fun place to travel to. Taiwan has a unique culture. The people are warm and friendly. And I find it has a laid-back atmosphere, kind of like the Midwest, compared to other markets in East Asia. And it's very easy to get around. Like in Taipei, you can get most places in Taipei in a 30-minute taxi ride. Just a kind of an overview of the retail supermarket market in Taiwan. Some of the big supermarket players are PX Mart, Simple Mart, Welcome, Taiwan Fresh, hypermarkets. Costco is big there. In fact, as of a few years ago, the #2 Costco store in the world was in Nehu district of Taipei. RT Mart, Carrefour are also big players. By the way, Carrefour and RT Mart are both like in the top 15 global retailers. Convenience stores are huge in Taipei. There's not a convenience store on every corner. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 convenience stores on every corner.
I am going over the 2021 Taiwan Food and Agriculture shows. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was up to speed on what is going on with the Taitra shows for 2021. So I just wanted to go over a little introduction about myself and what Taitra does. Next, I'll go into the Food Taipei mega shows and some different details about that. I wanted to speak on the international pavilions and more importantly, the USA Pavilion that takes place at the Food Taipei mega show. And then I wanted to go over some more specialty food shows that take place throughout the year that I think definitely add a lot of value to the Food Taipei mega show that's the main event for the year. So who am I? I'm Stuart Green. I'm a trade promotion specialist and project manager at the Taiwan Trade Center, or Taitra, in Chicago. What does Taitra do more specifically is we help facilitate trade between Taiwanese and US firms, and we also promote Taiwan's 40+ trade shows. As well, we now hold webinars for people like you today. And how can Taiwan help, especially in the world of food? I really believe it's a culture that's open to trying new products and always experiencing things from around the world. And as well, it's a hub for the Asia Pacific region, centrally located in the South China Sea. It's very accessible to almost everybody, all the way from Australia and New Zealand, people from India, and people all the way from the north in a place like Russia. So the Food Taipei Mega Show consists of 5 separate shows: Food Taipei, FoodTech, the Pharmatech Taiwan, Taipei Pack, and the Taiwan Hotel, Restaurant, and Catering Show. The Food Taipei Mega Show itself will take place on June 23rd through June 26th of 2021. It is held in all of Taipei's main exhibition halls, which I will show you some pictures of in a second. And it makes for a grand space of about 90,000 square meters plus. So there is plenty of room for all kinds of exhibition events that go on throughout the time of the show. So 2 things that I kind of wanted to show off that I thought were important aspects of the show were new product launches and one-on-one procurement meetings. The new product launches, I know as mentioned earlier, that Iowa pork and Taiwanese pineapples would be a great pairing. So a great example of how to use and show off those products and show how these things can kind of all work in tandem would be the new product launches space. Obviously, Maolin Foods, as it's shown in the picture, was a private company that decided to rent this out, but it could be for anyone, and it can be used in any way that we would want to show off, you know, something as topical as the pineapples and pork, or anything else that may be trendy, or something that Food Association would want to show from their region could all be shown off there. And on the business side, one-on-one procurement meetings are a very personal event where you do get to sit down and meet with a supplier individually. And I think it's just a great feature of the show, and it's a way that you can really build deeper relationships, especially in non-pandemic years, because you are sitting face-to-face with someone who you will be potentially doing business with for a long time. So the show venues are some amazing spaces. They all are interconnected with each other, but in the area around the Taipei World Trade Center. Obviously, Food Taipei is held in the main hall at the World Trade Center, and then the Taipei Nangang, or you'll hear them called the Taipei Next Exhibition Centers, Hall 1 and 2. So Hall 1 will hold Food Taipei, FoodTech, and Taipei Pack. And then Hall 2 holds the continuation of FoodTech Taipei Pack, the Hotel Restaurant Catering Show, and then the Bio and Pharmatech Taiwan Show. So a little bit of overseas visitor analysis from the 2019 show, the last non-pandemic year that this show was held. There were over 8,000 overseas buyers from 128 countries and 1,700 companies from a combined 38 countries. So when you add those two together, that really creates the most diverse international food show worldwide. You can't find the diversity in any other food show that's held on the planet. And even in 2020, Taiwan was one of the only countries in the world to hold a food trade show. So their ability to contain and control the pandemic, and as well still allow people in and out of the country safely and keeping those numbers down, all play into the fact that it's such a great space to come and travel and visit. There's a reason that a lot of people like to do it in the first place. And in continuing on into future years, I believe it's a place that everybody needs to visit and everybody will want to. Just a little bit more overseas visitors analysis. 84% of all people who attend the show are from the Asian region, which does play an advantage, especially if you're trying to promote your products into Asia. It is the place to do it. Following that up, 7.8% of people come from North and South America, and then Africa and Oceania still have a decent attendance, even though their populations might be a little bit smaller and not as necessarily interested in the products being offered. So Food Taipei itself is Asia's largest platform for quality food procurement. There's a high variety of food shown that comes from Taiwan, and as well a lot of Taiwanese city, county, and industry associations take a very active role in the event. So depending on your government level or who you are associated with, there's plenty of companies and or government associations there for you to have conversations with throughout your time visiting the show. And all the international pavilions will be located in Food Taipei. FoodTech Taipei is more based around food processing and technology. As with a lot of the industry-based sides of this show, component parts can be purchased there for machines, full machines for food processing can be bought there, and as well some companies offer complete setup, if that would be in Taiwan, or they can offer their technology services in the United States, but can help you set up a whole food processing facility. Agriculture and livestock products and processing equipment that come from Asia, and the technological advancements they have in those fields will also be shown at FoodTech. And as well, probably one of the most important things moving into 2021 and the future is food transportation. So all your food transport needs will be met here. Refrigeration, storage, logistics, and other ITIS, IoT transportation solutions can be found here. And that goes in tandem with the packaging related equipment. The Bio and Pharmatech Taiwan portion of the show focuses on Pharmatech and the biofood sciences section. New advancements in the technology are always shown here. Same with the machinery and the equipment setups. I'd say another important thing would be the packaging equipment, which Taiwan is very strong at in general, so you'll see a lot of that reiterated throughout the different sections of the show. But the focus of pharmaceutical packaging is very important here, and how that applies to food as well. And Taipei Pack is more specifically all the packaging professionals and companies. You could have something that would take place in a warehouse setting, as I had mentioned, so filling, sealing, and weighing machinery and the sort, but as well printing and bag making machinery. And as we all know, packaging around the world differs greatly, and it also can affect the way you're able to market products abroad. So being able to form relationships with some of these packaging professionals and getting insight from them on how products should look if you're really trying to repackage and move products into the Asian marketplace. As well, they can help you with certain translation, idiosyncrasies that happen, and other, requirements that might be needed when it comes to packaging your food for the Asian market. And the Taiwan Hotel, Restaurant, and Catering Show covers anything you would need running a space in a hotel, a restaurant, or a catering event service. Food, beverage, and processing machinery that would be too small for a warehouse space, but too large for an at-home kitchen. is shown off here, as well as cleaning, sanitation, and laundry equipment that could be used in any sort of public space, hotel, restaurant, or catering service. So one of the most important parts and what Dave Shogren had kind of spoken on before and where he had presented at would have been the US International Pavilion. I really do think it's the best way to show off all the US products in a single space. And if there's more coordination that comes from all the different food associations and state departments across the United States, I believe a unified vision, it really would help build up how people view US foods. You know, it's been tough these past few years, and I think there has been some changing on how different people around the world view the United States. But if we come to this international pavilion and we all work together to create a unified vision, it could really be a very impactful piece. When people come and visit, they say, wow, like these people from the United States are so nice. They provided us with so much great information. You know, their booths were very beautiful looking. I think it would really help drive people's excitement about doing business with the United States, and as well giving us just a great opportunity to show off how great we are and all the great things that come out of this country. And as well, individual booths are set up for companies within the international pavilions, so everybody can always work in tandem with the international image building on top of still promoting individual companies and the products that they either import to Taiwan or that they would like to move into the Asian region. So from the 2020 visitors, so even in a non-pandemic year, these were the people who decided to attend anyways. Maybe a few that you know would be like the California Milk Advisory, Dairy West, the Idaho Potato Commission, and even today who's attending with us, the Food Export Association of the Midwest and Northeast attended in 2020. As well, there are Taiwanese importers of US foods that represent the United States at this pavilion. So something like Potatoes USA, USA Rice, or US Meat Export are Taiwanese companies or industry associations that represent US foods in Taiwan. But then there are also some private companies like Yuho Foods, Shuseng Co., Mayful Fine Foods, SPI Westport Corporation, and Keeper International, who import US foods on their own. As well, some of these companies, if you check their websites or look at their product offerings, you might see that they only offer Taiwanese products, but they make them with a majority of US foodstuffs. So that means that they are still able to represent US foods due to the usage of US foods in their products. So these are some of the other international organizers of the other pavilions. More as a private company, maybe having a relationship with them could help you move your product around or see how you could work in tandem with some of them. I'll make sure to share this presentation at the end, so in case you are interested in talking to some of these other organizers, it is definitely a valuable resource. So I'm going to move into the specialty shows that take place throughout the year in Taiwan, and they'd be a little bit more specific to some niche industries. The Taichung International Tea, Coffee, and Bakery Show is also held in tandem with the Taichung Wine and Spirits Festival, and it's the largest beverage and food show in central Taiwan. It's also an opportunity to visit a place that's not Taipei, which if you visited Taiwan before and you might want to see something new, these are definitely shows that are worth your while to check out. And that will take place July 8th through 11th. Smart Agriweek is held in conjunction with the Taiwan International Fisheries and Seafood Show. It's a focus more on Taiwan's vision of sustainability and the circular agriculture and livestock growth. So states that are heavy in agriculture or livestock farming, I would definitely recommend your attendance on this event. It takes place September 2nd through 4th of this year. The Kaohsiung Food Show is Southern Taiwan's one and only professional food trading platform. Kaohsiung is definitely known as the place where it's Taiwan's agricultural center and really a great place for agricultural development. So that's what most of this food show will focus on. It's the same thing, especially when it comes to seafood products. If you are from a state that has a seafood industry or something that they would even like to expand, maybe a state based on the Great Lakes, this is definitely a very valuable show for you. And that will take place October 28th through 31st of this year. The Asia Agri-Tech Expo and Forum again focuses on sustainability and Taiwan's model of the circular economy, and as well livestock growth and aquaculture growth, which can be very essential for maybe a state. I'm from Ohio, And a state like Indiana or even Kentucky, their aquaculture is really taking off in these states where they don't necessarily have access to a Great Lake or the ocean, but farmers still want to participate in this. And I think there's a lot of great technologies coming out of Asia that have to do with Agri-Tech in general, and especially livestock and aquacultural advancements. And that'll take place November 11th through 13th of this year. So just as some closing remarks, I want to remind everybody Food Taipei does take place June 23rd through 26th of this year. The Food Taipei 5-in-1 show is one of the most complete food shows in the world, if not the most complete. And most importantly, all these trade shows are in a hybrid format for 2021 and through the foreseeable future. So opening an online booth as a private company or as a trade association is very straightforward, and I believe it's cost effective because you get a lot of value from not only attending the show, but the kinds of conversations and relationships you can develop throughout attending this show during the year. And it's an excellent international marketing tool without having to really leave the home office if you choose not to. And don't forget, I know a lot of people said that they were excited about traveling back to Taiwan. And here at Taitra, we help assist in all visa application needs. We can help talk you through the process. We can assist with certain costs that might be associated with traveling. And we ourselves are always excited to travel back to Taiwan and help you travel there. That's really the most important thing that I want to drive home, is that if you ever think twice about wanting to travel Taiwan or thinking that it might not fit, you should probably talk to us first, because we will most likely be able to help you figure something out. And Mandy Chen is one of my colleagues. She's the food show organizer and project manager. So when you talk about the food show or your travel arrangements, she'll be the one to help you out. Again, I'm Stuart Green. I'm a trade promotion specialist and the webinar speaker for the Chicago office of Taitra. I just want to thank everybody again for being here today, and thank you for participating in the webinar.
So Food Export Midwest, we're a private nonprofit international trade organization. We are one of the cooperator groups that receives funding from the USDA to help promote the export of U.S. agricultural products. I think Jeff alluded to working with cooperator groups in his presentation earlier, as well as Dave. And we focus on value-added consumer-oriented products, and our members are the state agricultural promotion agencies. So here's just a quick map of the Midwest states that we work directly with, and these are the members of our association. So we work with value-added consumer-oriented products, the kinds of things for the most part, the kinds of things you'd find in grocery stores: snack, convenience, natural, healthy, organic, specialty, and private label as well. We do also work with some food ingredient products and food service products as well. Feed ingredients, and definitely pet food continues to be a big expanding category for us as well. So we offer 3 tiers of programs, basically. Exporter education. We do pretty much at least one export education webinar every month on a different topic related to exports of food. We have a helpline service where companies can enroll, and our helpline counselor, who has over 30 years of experience, can help walk them through export transactions. Our market entry programs are designed to connect U.S. food suppliers with qualified international buyers. We do buyers missions event where we bring buyers from around the world to the U.S. We do trade missions where we bring a group of companies to a key market for U.S. products to meet with buyers there. Lastly, I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about our market promotion, and this is our branded program. So our branded program is a 50% cost share reimbursement program designed to help eligible U.S. food companies get 50% back on their international marketing expenses. Basically, we like to promote it as a chance to double your international marketing budget. So companies submit an application up front for what their marketing plans are, how much funding they want from the program. They go through with those activities and those expenses, and then they submit claims afterwards for reimbursement through the program. So basically, any way that you're promoting your brand or your products to international buyers is probably going to be eligible. There are all kinds of different ways that companies use the program. I'll run through a few of them here quickly, but I know in the essence of time, I'll keep moving. Print advertisement, magazines, newspapers, publications, anything like that. If you want to promote your product in there, that's going to be eligible. large format advertising. We've had companies do billboards and truck wraps and signs above retail outlets and all kinds of different things. Point of sale materials, so things directly there at a retail outlet, or if you're producing point of sale material or sell sheets for trade shows, that's going to be eligible. Giveaway items and materials, things that you hand out, as long as it says, so one of the big requirements of the program is that you have to be promoting your product as product of USA or made in USA. So if you have your brand name and product of USA somewhere on there, then these expenses are going to be eligible. Websites and social media. This is obviously getting really popular now, and especially that was accelerated due to COVID, but search engine optimization or other online advertisements, website development. If you want to create a portion of your website dedicated for international buyers, if it has another language on it, or if it has export pricing, through this program you can get 50% back on costs to develop and maintain that portion of the website. Social media management, obviously social media advertising is getting really popular, and those expenses are eligible as well, as long as you can clearly demonstrate that it's targeting a foreign audience and not just social media in the United States. In-store demos, if companies want to show off their product in a, let's say, Dave talked about some of those big retailers in Taiwan. If you want to do an in-store demo or have a table to show off some of your products and something like that, then expenses related to that, not the cost of your product, but the cost of renting the materials and whatever the retailer charges would all be eligible. Some companies do chef demonstrations in a foreign market, whether that's for consumers or maybe for retailers or distributors to kind of demonstrate how to use the product. Expenses related to that are eligible. Package and label modifications, if you have to produce a new package or a new label to make it compliant with an international market's import regulations, then again, you can apply for 50% reimbursement on those, any expenses affiliated with that through our branded program. And then lastly, we've talked a little bit about the Taipei Food Show. Basically, any trade show that takes place outside of the United States, if a U.S. company who's eligible for this branded program want to exhibit or have a booth there, then there's a lot of expenses related to that that's eligible for 50% back. Booth costs, so whatever you have to pay for the booth right up front, 50% would be reimbursable. Any equipment that you have to rent, anything that's temporary signage or internet or whatever it might be, you do have to be within the USA Pavilion unless you have otherwise approval. And then also travel costs on here. So travel costs for up to 2 company representatives are eligible as well. So that's flights, hotels, and meals and incidentals per diem. So this is a really great way that you can help reduce your cost by 50% if you want to exhibit at an international trade show, something like the Taipei Food Show or another event in Taiwan. And these little arrows are indicating all these different expenses that would be eligible in relation to your booth at the show.
We have 2 offices in Illinois, one in Chicago, one in Bloomington. International marketing is very important to our board in one of the strategic focuses that our board uses every year. And Taiwan is a top market destination for soybeans that are exported out of the state of Illinois. Each year, about 60% of our crop is exported overseas, and a top country destination is Taiwan. Because of that, the reason why Taiwan's a great country for us is all the Class 1 railroads have intermodal facilities in and around the Chicago area and send containers back to Taiwan. So it's very advantageous for us to put soybeans in those containers going back to Taiwan for those companies that need those containers to put consumer goods back in that come back to the United States. So we're able to take advantage of that opportunity due to our strategic position here in the state of Illinois, with Chicago being a transportation hub. Each year we host soybean buyers that come to Illinois, both from Taiwan and other countries. And developing those relationships are very important. Working with offices like the Taiwan Trade Office in Chicago is very strategic for our organization to identify buyers that are coming to the state and working with them throughout the year. And each year we have different opportunities that we work with the Taiwan office. And just to highlight a few of those, every couple of years the Taiwan Goodwill Tour comes through the Midwest, and we get to interact with the Taiwan office, facilitating top-notch visits for those soybean buyers that come to Illinois, whether it's through going to the farm, like some have gone to our chairman Doug Schroeder's farm in the past, or other soybean members' farm, to get one-on-one dialogue with those farmers and buyers to learn more about sustainable farming practices and other operations that those farmers do, so those questions get answered. Or we have meetings in Chicago with those buyers at our Chicago office where we go into more detail, and the Taiwan office comes there to help support that and help translate and help facilitate those meetings as well. And we also are able to have our government officials come to those meetings too. In the past, historically, we've been able to have our governor and several other key officials come to help talk about the importance of soybean trade between Illinois and Taiwan.
Beanie's Bean has been around for almost 40 something years, and it's in the Edgewater neighborhood. It's a tofu company. I was their customer for 7 years, and one day the owner wanted to retire. And I walk in and I said, no, you cannot retire. So that's how I started with this. So as I said, Beanie's Bean is using Illinois grown soybeans mostly. We also use the Midwest if Illinois supplies dried out for us, and then we'll reach out to all farmers in the Midwest. But we have been working partner with 2 farmers specifically in Illinois area to produce tofu every day. We have been really lucky. We were focusing on Asian market. We have been working with Hormel Food in Minnesota for over 20 years. With the help of tannery in Minnesota and Wisconsin, we now produce US pig leather. You can see this beautiful pig nubuck way on New Balance shoes made in USA, San Antonio shoes made in USA, and other shoes specifically designed for the US military. We'll go back to the pork side. Taiwan implemented a rectopamine-free policy in 2005. About the same time, CK redirect our focus from variety meat to specialty meat, high-end pork. Today, our core business is antibiotic-free pork, rectopamine-free pork, and pork from specialty genetics such as 100% Berkshire, Kudo Buddha, and Duroc.
So I talked about a differentiated product only from Wisconsin, our unique product and packaging configurations. Right now, what we're moving into is an era of talking about our brand, our story, that what our family stands for, being a second generation farmer, and what our products mean and how are they going to be used by consumers, because consumers my age and younger don't really know how to use this product, and we don't have time to prepare it in traditional ways. Ginseng traditionally was steeped overnight in hot water and then used as a tea. I can't remember the last time I stuck anything in water overnight and then used it the next day. I can barely turn on a coffee maker in the morning. So to expect me to prepare products days in advance or hours in advance of use, I think is silly. And so this shows the speed of change and the changing pace of our consumer economy that shows that our agricultural products need to reflect that changing technology.